Hey, what's up everybody? This is Osterberg501 and today I want to start a video series going over all of the information for the different classes of Tiny Tina's Wonderlands because all the information for these different classes was recently released. And there are three main things we're going to be looking at for all of the different classes, and that is class feats, action skills, and passive skills. And the class we're going to be looking at in this video is the BRR-ZERKER. And the first thing we have to look at is our class feat. Now every class has a class feat, and these are passive effects that you just get for playing that class or having that class activated. And the class feat for the BRR-ZERKER is Rage of the Ancients. Using an action skill causes the Fate Maker to become enraged, adding bonus frost damage to their attacks. Enraged duration will not deplete while an action skill is active and ends if the Fate Maker enters Save Your Soul. Activating an action skill when already enraged restores a portion of the enraged timer. So fitting in with the lore of something like a berserker, our BRR-ZERKER gets an enrage as their class feat. They're just going to add a ton of additional damage, and you have ways through usage of your action skills to affect the duration of this feat. And next up we have our action skills, and every class has two of these, but you're only able to have equipped one action skill at a time. And every class gets two, so once you get part of the way through the game and you're multi-classing, you'll have access to 4 different action skills you can change on the fly, but you can only have one active at one time. So first up, we have a Dreadwind. The Fate Maker spins, slashing anything nearby with their melee weapon and essentially becoming a pain tornado. Grants increased movement speed and slow immunity for the duration. So this is spin to win. It's your Whirlwind or your Blade Storm. And I could definitely see this being something incredibly strong because usually in Borderlands games, abilities that have really big AoEs usually end up being pretty good. Then we have Feral Surge. The Fate Maker leaps towards their target, dealing frost damage to all nearby enemies. Any non-boss enemies' damage will be instantly killed if their total HP is below a certain percentage. If Feral Surge kills an enemy, the cooldown is reset. And I'm not sure what that certain percentage would be, but this skill seems like it can be incredibly strong, especially if you can just use it on low enemies and continue to use it every time you get a kill. So you could potentially just spam this ability over and over and over again. This is one of those abilities that could have a very high end possibility of this just becoming ridiculous if used in a correct build. And next up we have passive skills. Now these passive skills will be in a skill tree like you're used to from other Borderlands games. You earn points throughout the game to put into these passive skills. Every class gets one passive skill tree, so once you're multi-classing you'll have access to both your classes' skill trees and you can mix and match your points and put them into whichever passives you want. And these are split into different tiers, so essentially just the different rows that will be shown in the class tree itself. So for tier 1 we have Ancestral Frost. You can put 5 points into this and it increases your frost damage. Then we have Savagery, 5 points max, melee damage is increased, and enrage duration is increased. Then we have Unyielding with 3-point max. A percentage of missing health regenerates over time, while in rage this effect is doubled. So just 2 damage increases. And Unyielding is something that is very interesting because you just get regenerating health over time, and most likely how this is going to work is the lower health you get, the more this is going to heal you. So it's going to have a hard time fully healing you up because the heal will be so slow when you're at high health. But when you're at low health, this could be incredibly strong and help you stay alive when going against really bursty enemies or fights. And this effect is doubled when enraged, so creating a build around keeping yourself enraged as much as possible with Unyielding could potentially be a really tanky build. Then we have tier 2 and we have Icebreaker with 3 points max. The Fate Maker gains increased damage dealt to enemies that are slowed. The closer an enemy is to being frozen, the more the damage is increased. Then we have the Old Ways, 5-point max. The Fate Maker deals bonus damage and gains increased damage reduction the closer they are to an enemy. The closer the enemy is, the greater the bonus. Then we have Instinct, 3 points max. Reload speed is increased, weapon swap speed is increased. While enraged, this effect is doubled. So again, we have another passive that increases effects when we're enraged. So clearly having that for an enraged build would be a good bonus. Then we have two other passives that actually have some additional gameplay added into them. So the first one, you deal more damage to slowed enemies, and the closer they are to being frozen, the more the damage. So essentially, the more buildup of them being slowed, the more the damage would be increased. So that would be good for a build that's focused on frozen damage. Then the old ways is also pretty interesting because this is going to be good for a melee build because you deal more damage and take less damage the closer you are to a target. So if you're using a melee build, this is going to max out those bonus effects. Then for tier 3, we have Cold Snap with 3 points max. Movement speed is increased, frost efficiency is increased, and while enraged, this effect is doubled, so another enraged effect. Then we have Unarmed Defense, which is 1 point max. A portion of the Fate Maker's ward is reserved and cannot be restored, but their maximum health is increased by a percentage of the reserved amount. Health can no longer be reserved. So essentially what this is doing is it's removing a portion of your ward, which are the shields for this game, and increasing your health by a percentage of how much ward was reserved. And reserve just means it essentially removes it. You can't restore the reserved amount, but I think some stuff in the game can still interact with your maximum shield with still counting the reserved amount. And this can work really well with healing builds like we went over with one of the other passives that heals you over time. This could synergize well with that. Then we have Blood Frenzy, 3 points max. It's a kill skill. Restore a percentage of your enraged timer and a percentage of your maximum health. So a kill skill that restores your enraged timer and gives you maximum health. There's definitely a bunch of passives in here that's going to make a pretty crazy tanking healing build. Then for tier 4, we have Ancient Fury, 5 points max. Maximum health is increased and splash damage is increased. Then Relentless Rage, 1 point max. If the Fate Maker damages an enemy while in Save Your Soul, its duration is extended. The amount extended decreases over time. Killing an enemy while in Save Your Soul will cause Fate Maker to become enraged. So Save Your Soul is just when you're downed. Every Borderlands game has had this. So just shooting enemies increases the timer, and then killing an enemy, which would also get you up out of Save Your Soul and back on your feet, will also cause you to be enraged. So I could definitely see a lot of people taking this just as a general passive point because it's only 1 point, and this could definitely save you quite a bit because everybody is experienced when you're downed on the ground and you're damaging a bunch of enemies and they keep going behind corners. You can only damage them some of the time, or you're close to killing one and then you bleed out. So increasing the duration while shooting enemies could be a massive help. Then for tier 5, we have a Blast Chill, which is a 1 point max. Whenever the Fate Maker deals melee damage to an enemy, there's a chance to release a Frost Nova. Dealing frost ability damage to nearby enemies, Frost Nova cannot critically hit. So this could definitely be a pretty cool melee build where every time you melee, you have a chance to Frost Nova, and that Frost Nova is based off of ability damage, which can also have a lot of other modifiers in the game through different stats or through different items. Then we have Iron Squall, 5 point max. Fire rate is increased, melee attack speed is increased, and while enraged, this effect is doubled. So another enraged effect that gives some pretty good stat increases, and this also synergizes with Blast Chill that we just went over. You can hit more times, you could possibly proc more Frost Novas. And then for tier 6, we have Blood of the Fallen, 1 point max. Kill skill. The Fate Maker's remaining action skill cooldown is reduced by a percentage. If an action skill is currently active, its duration is extended instead. So this is incredibly strong. We know from Borderlands 3 that kill skills and kill skills builds can become pretty ridiculous, especially if you have ways to constantly get those kill skills without killing enemies, so just off of procs. And this one is, in a similar way, incredibly strong. This is the last passive in the skill tree, which are usually more substantial passive abilities, and this one is the same, especially if there ends up being a build where you constantly have an action skill active and you want to keep getting kill skill procs to keep it extended. So this one could definitely be a build maker if you're looking for some type of kill skill, action skill build. So that is everything I want to go over with the BRR-ZERKER. We went over the class feats, the action skills and the passive skills. And I'm going to be doing a video for all 6 of the classes, going over all their information as well. And keep in mind, this is a lot of information and this is a lot of build potentials, but you're also mixing this with a secondary class. So you have so much build potential, and you can change that secondary class. So you could have Berserker be your secondary class, or if you're a main Berserker, you can mix that with any of the 5 other classes and just get some absolutely ridiculous combinations. But that's pretty much all I want to go over. So subscribe if you want to see more Tiny Tina's Wonderlands or other videos. Leave a like if you liked the video. Leave a comment down below what you guys think about all the information for the Berserker, and thanks for watching.